to another episode of the Modern Manifestation Podcast. I'm your host, Bree Brown, a lettuce-hating, wine-loving, curses like a sailor, recovering perfectionist. Having thrived in a male-dominated, commission-based industry, I'm passionate about helping women boldly pursue their life goals. In this space, we build confidence with our mindset, manifestation, and spirituality. I believe that your life manifests as a result of who you are, not what you do, and that your personality creates your personal reality. Join this growing community to increase your net worth by increasing your self-worth. Now let's jump into today's topic. Hello, my beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Modern Manifestation Podcast. Today's episode is going to help you get ready for the new year. It is also going to introduce some of the things that I will be talking about in my upcoming workshop. So my workshop that I'm holding for the 2023 year preparation is this Friday, December 16th at noon Central Time. In this workshop, we are going to look at the year behind us. We are also going to look at the year ahead of us because I think the past can really help us inform the future. Not only that, but we are going to talk about the common pitfalls that happen whenever you are trying to manifest your goals. We are also going to talk about ways you can work around that. And then we're also going to get into how I set my goals, how I keep track of myself, accountability, and so much more in that workshop. So I hope you join me. It is Friday, December 16th at noon Central Time. And if you cannot make that date or that time work, no worries. Sign up for the workshop anyway, and you will still get access to everything the workshop offers, including a replay of the video following. And if you're wondering how much this workshop costs, guys, it is only $23. I know, it is stupid and expensive, and I did that because I wanted to make it as accessible as possible to everyone. It is not at all related to the value because the value is incredible, but I wanted to make sure that for those of you as we enter this recession and as you're thinking about the year ahead of us, and you're trying to figure out how to plan for this upcoming year, I wanted that price tag to be accessible for you. I wanted to make sure that it's not a stressor for you to commit to this, and then that way it'll help propel you toward your goals. And even if you've done a resolution workshop before, totally fine. This will probably bring up some new things that you haven't heard before. It'll also go over some issues that I used to face when trying to set resolutions or goals. I actually don't even like the term resolutions. I don't believe in resolutions. I believe in setting effective goals. For me, those things are slightly different. But even if you have tried this before and you felt like it just didn't work for you, or you didn't feel like the format worked for you, try this out. I promise there will be at least a handful of nuggets in there that you'll be able to utilize. And not only will this workshop help you this year, but I'm designing it so that you can reuse the workbook year after year. So I'm even putting in place markers for the year. That way in 2024, 2025, 2026, 2042, whatever year it is, you can pull out this digital workbook again and start all over again. That is my commitment to you. And you will also have unlimited access to the video replay, as well as the visualization meditation and all the tips and tricks that are available within the workshop itself. So great value for $23. It's $23 also in honor of 2023. Thought I was being a little cute there. So it's accessible, it's affordable, and hopefully it gives you the inspiration that you need to kickstart your new year. That way, come January 1st, you're not like, shit, I forgot to set my goals. And then you're like, I'll just start next Monday. And then the next Monday rolls around, and you're like, oh crap, I forgot to do it again. Let me just kick it another week. And all of a sudden you're mid-March and you're like, I didn't set any resolutions or goals this year. I guess this year's out the window. I'll do it next year. I used to do that. And I also used to dread the end of the year because I felt like I would look at the year behind me and just feel disappointed and also feel regret about what I had not accomplished. I finally got tired of that narrative. I finally got tired of that habit. And the only way to break the habits that you don't like is to form new, healthier habits. So if you've never set goals before for the year, or if you've never set goals ever, or if you find that you are someone that struggled to maintain your goals long-term, or if you are someone that's easily overwhelmed and past workshops just haven't worked for you, I am trying to incorporate not only manifestation tips, not only mindset tips, but also coming from the perspective of a neurodivergent ADHD person and how I have to hack some of these things in order to get them to work for me in my life. I'm hopeful that that will also help you in doing so. So there's so much content that's going to be a part of this hour-long workshop. Again, it is only $23 Friday, December 16th at noon. Hope to see you there. And as a special bonus for all of my podcast listeners specifically, on social media, I have put in there that the visualization meditation is available only to the first 25. However, you guys are my MVPs. And as a thank you for being my best supporters, I want to go ahead and offer it to you regardless of whether or not you are the first 25. So if you are not the first 25 and you do not receive that email from me with the visualization meditation, just send me an email with pod listener in the header, and I will make sure that I send you that meditation personally. My email is hello@themodernmanifestation.com. If you have already signed up, you will get access to the workbook and the meditation the day of the workshop. Okay, so with that, let's jump into today's topic, which is talking about how we get in our own way when we're trying to manifest our goals, when we're trying to set resolutions, and when we're trying to plan for the new year. This is going to be a preparation for my workshop coming up, but in today's episode, we are not going to get into how I overcome a lot of these barriers. And the reason why I'm not getting into the how is because I want to respect the people that have already signed up for the workshop, and I want to make sure that they're getting the value out of that workshop. And while it almost goes against my nature not to give you the how, I want to make sure that I'm being respectful to the people that have signed up, and I don't want them to feel like they could have just listened to this episode and gotten the value out of it. So I want to be respectful of those people. I want to make sure I honor their commitment to me. So we are going to talk about the issues that typically come up. If you're interested in how I personally get around these things, please tune into my workshop. But regardless, today will give you a lot to think about. It will give you, hopefully, a lot to plan around when it comes to planning for your new year. This is also an updated and upgraded version of my 8 steps toward manifesting a better year. That's a podcast episode I did in 2020. I even think it was episode number 20. So we'll get a little bit into things we covered in that episode. But in this episode, I've just learned so much in the past couple of years. There's going to be a lot more included in this one. So let's jump in and talk about why you may have struggled to manifest your past goals or your past resolutions. The first thing I see when people are struggling to manifest their goals or their resolutions is that they are allowing their black and white thinking to get in the way. So an example of this might be things like, I have to start my resolutions on the start of the year, January 1st. It has to be on a Monday. It has to be the beginning of the day. It cannot be midday. I need to be absolutely perfect, or I have to start over the next day. Maybe you are saying that you are trying to eat healthier, cut out sugar throughout the day, and then midday or mid-afternoon, you forget and you have a Hershey Kiss or you have a cookie. And then your brain immediately jumps into that black and white thinking, and you're like, oh crap, I forgot. I just had a cookie. I said my resolution was to eat healthy. You know what? I have to start over again tomorrow. And then the rest of the day, you allow yourself to binge on sugar because you're like, oh, it's my last day. Well, if it's my last day, I might as well get it all in while I can. I'm curious if that sounds familiar for you because I am describing myself. So that's the first thing that I see that gets in people's way when they're trying to manifest their goals is this black and white thinking, this all or nothing. I'm either all in or I'm not, and I'm starting over. It's also demanding perfection from yourself. I have to be perfect at this, or I might as well not even try. So that is the first pitfall that I see a lot of people run into. The second one is that you are waiting for motivation to strike. You keep waiting for the right mood. But this can actually be a really sneaky trick by our ego. They might actually try to keep us from feeling that motivated feeling because it doesn't like change. Our ego doesn't want the change. And so saying that we want to wait until we feel motivated is a really convenient way for our ego to keep us in the status quo, to keep us from change. Because how often do you really feel motivated to do some of these goals? For most of us, even though the idea of the results of the goal can excite you, the doing of or the accomplishing of is less exciting. And so if you're sitting around waiting for that motivation, you may never start. Your ego might keep that from you indefinitely. And so my question is, how long are you willing to wait? You don't need to wait for optimal mental space in order to be ready to change or in order to be ready to start making progress toward your goals. The third issue that I see people run into is that you're waiting for the right time. You've had a goal in mind for years, and you keep waiting for the right time. But we know there's never a right time. So you might say that I'm going to accomplish that thing once my kids are in school, or I'll do this once work calms down, or I'll do this when I'm not in my busy season, or I'll do this once my mother's health is better, or I'll do this once I fill in the blank. You're always waiting for the right time. It never feels like the right time. And we might also even use the idea of needing something else in order to kind of facilitate the same narrative of not the right time or maybe not the right materials. So you might also say, oh, well, before I can start, I need a brand new journal. Or I need to take this course first. Or I need to go grocery shopping first. Or I need to read this book first before I start. That way I do it right. I do it perfectly. There's always some really convenient reason why now's not the time. Why we need to wait. Why we need to kick the can down the road. And this is our ego showing up again, and its sneaky little ways of keeping us where we are. The fourth struggle that I see for people is that you're setting goals you don't believe in, or you're setting goals that you don't even think you can accomplish when you start. So you are setting yourself up for failure before you even begin. As an example, if you are someone that's making $40,000 a year, and you write down, make $1 million this year, and you just kind of laugh it off, you kind of roll your eyes internally. Maybe it's not even consciously, it's internally, but it gives you that feeling, that tightness of anxiety. And you have absolutely no way of knowing how it's going to come to you. And you're not actively doing anything to get you to that goal. Or it's like you write it down because you think that's what other people expect for you to have on your to-do list or on your goal-setting list. Don't do this. The next struggle that I see people run into is that your goals are too vague, or you have no idea what it's going to look like when you actually hit your goals. And this ambiguity has a way of keeping us safe. Because on one hand, if we hit the goal, how are we ever going to know? And also, if we don't hit the goal, how are we ever going to know? It's almost a way for your subconscious to protect you from what it perceives as failure. If we're not too specific with our goals, it gives us a little bit of an out if we don't hit them. It kind of takes off the pressure. It kind of takes off the feeling of I wasn't good enough or I wasn't perfect enough. But when goals are too vague, it also keeps us from making progress. The next struggle I see when people are trying to manifest their goals is that they set too many. You get too ambitious. And this ties in with the black and white thinking. It's like I'm setting no goals or I'm setting 20. I used to be this person. I would set 10, 15, 20 goals at the start of the year. I would often have myself trying to do those 15, 20 things a day, and I would be burnt out after week 3. When we do this, we shock our nervous system. And when we shock our nervous system, we go into fight or flight. When we go into fight or flight, we're experiencing adrenal fatigue, we're exhausted, it's too much too fast. And it will allow your ego to step in and be like, oh, see, I knew that would happen. I knew change was bad. Let me step in and convince them that it's okay to stop. It's okay to stop making progress. We were safer. We liked it better when we were back over there. And so progress comes to a halt. It's that all or nothing mindset coming back into play. The final challenge that I see people facing when they're trying to manifest their goals is that they are not flexible enough. They do not give themselves flexibility. It's also related to black and white thinking. Do you see how that kind of permeates into almost all of these? It's this idea that you're putting too much pressure on yourself. And you're not allowing yourself to change with your circumstances. And you're not giving yourself the gift of grace whenever you need to pivot or you need to reevaluate your current goals. And when we don't give ourselves this flexibility, just like in the last struggle I talked about, we throw our nervous system out of whack. And when our nervous system is not in alignment, we do not feel healthy, we do not feel good, we start messing with the whole manifestation equation. So having flexibility is really important when it comes to setting your goals. So giving yourself the freedom to start over midday, or changing your goal if it's too much, or maybe you decide later on, you know what, this actually wasn't the right goal, it needed to be this. And you allow yourself to pivot. Or you decide in February, March, April, whatever it is, that actually, this isn't a goal that I feel passionately about anymore. I'm going to replace it. And not allowing that to feel like failure. Or being kind to yourself when it's a really challenging week and saying, you know what, a minute of doing this is enough today. So making sure that you give yourself the gift of flexibility. You're not living in that black and white world, and you're giving yourself the ability to fluctuate and for these goals to move with you in life. Goals are not meant to be rigid. They're meant to be elastic. So allow them to grow, to expand, to contract, for the timing to change. Allow ultimate flexibility. And when it relates to the timing as well, know that it doesn't have to happen within this 12-month period. Any progress is progress in the right direction. It's progress forward. If you do nothing, you will always remain where you are. Even if you do one thing, you're one step further than where you are right now. And how would that feel? And so in 12 months, this is really just an arbitrary idea of timing. So in a way, this is really actually the final struggle. It kind of ties into that. Allowing yourself to progress in the timeline that you need to progress in. So not fixating too much on the next 12 months, not experiencing disappointment in November because you took 5 steps instead of 8 steps forward, right? Progress is progress. And one of my favorite quotes is progress over perfection. Progress over perfection. Stagnation is when you're not moving forward at all for the sake of safety. Progress is if you can even make one step forward. So I don't care how many steps you make in the next 12 months. The idea is to allow yourself the flexibility to accept whatever the timing needs to be and to celebrate the little progresses that you experience. And know that these goals aren't meant to take place in this finite, limited time that you're giving yourself. Like, what is really a year in terms of progress? It's an arbitrary number. There's no reason why a goal has to take 12 months. It could take 12 weeks. It could take 12 days. There's also no reason why it needs to be within 12 months. It might be 18. It might be 24. And not allowing that to hinder your progress because it's going to happen in the time in which it is meant to happen. A good example of this is that several years ago when I was thinking about starting the podcast, it was my dream, or it was my goal rather, to get my podcast launched and to launch my website in the same year. It didn't take 12 months, it took 18. And there are so many reasons why it needed to take 18. And I don't regret those extra 6 months and I don't beat myself up over them. Because in that additional 6 months, there was so much growth and learning and lessons and challenges that had to come up to make everything I do now much easier. Because I learned from each one of those scenarios. And each one of those things taught me a little bit more about myself, how I work, how I like to work, things that typically show up for me, how I get in my own way. It taught me a lot about my perfectionism and when that shows up and how I can work around it. So those additional 6 months were critical and I needed them. And sometimes the universe just wants us to say yes to progress. It just wants us to say yes to taking the first steps forward. And when we show that we are making our commitment to co-creating with it, it'll meet us halfway. And that might give the universe opportunities to teach you some of the things that it's been wanting to teach you. And so being flexible and celebrating progress as it comes, when it comes, knowing that 12 months is totally arbitrary. You might be able to do it in 3. You might do it in 3 years. The point is to celebrate progress, any progress. And that is so critical. And this also very beautifully ties in with gratitude. Having gratitude for where you are versus where you were. Gratitude for how long it is taking. Gratitude for all the challenges and the miracles you've experienced along the way. Not getting too stuck on a timeline, not getting too stuck on how something should look, right? That control factor we talk a lot about with manifestation. So those are the struggles and the challenges I typically see people face when they're trying to set goals, when they're trying to work on manifesting change over the next year. If you're listening to this in December of 2022, you have a few more weeks until the new year. There's no reason why you can't start next Monday, though. There's no reason why you can't start in 2 weeks or in 2 days from now, right? Giving yourself that flexibility. If January 1 just feels good, that just feels like a good ritual for you, great, honor that. Do it January 1. Listen to your body, listen to what you need, listen to what excites you. But right now you have the time, you have the ability to decide to make a plan. And those who plan take action. Those who take action are subscribing to the law of action. And when you subscribe to the law of action, you are allowing manifestations to unfold for you. You're co-creating with the universe. you are taking the first step toward manifesting the things you want in your life and bringing them to you. So I hope this episode has been helpful. If you are intrigued by any of these topics, or if you are intrigued about learning more or how I personally have overcome some of these issues, how I think about things, or my little own hacks for how I've resolved some of these issues, please check out my workshop. It is December 16th at noon. Again, if you can't make the time work, you will get access to the video replay following, so you can listen to it anytime, any place, anywhere, any year at that. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me today. I have so many more episodes coming to you, and I'm really, really excited. Thank you again, everyone who has left me a review. And if you haven't, I would greatly appreciate it if you could drop in some feedback. Let me know how I'm doing, what you like, and what you could use more of. Have a fantastic rest of your week, and I will catch y'all in the next episode. Until then, go out there and manifest some miracles. I hope y'all enjoyed today's episode. If you want to check out the show notes, head over to www.themodernmanifestation.com/blog. If you're loving this podcast, please drop me a review, share this episode with a loved one, and follow me on Instagram @modernmanifestation. I love y'all so much, and thanks for listening.